I'm fully prepared with everything I need for the Jay-Z documentary. The moment he sent that legal letter, I knew I had to let the world see who he really is. He and Diddy are cut from the same cloth. He just hides his arrogance and control behind a cleaner image. Our feud has lasted 20 years, and I know better than anyone what he's done in the shadows. I even suspect that so-called funeral bouquet wasn't Diddy's idea at all, but Jay-Z acting on his behalf. Back when Nicki Minaj posted that video of him wearing a pink wig, all I did was repost it, and he got so nervous he had his lawyers threaten me. In 2015, Nicki worked her ass off helping him build his platform, and he allegedly pocketed her $7.9 million in royalties. And then there's his fingerprints all over key incidents through the years, whether it's the elevator footage or the guest list at Diddy's parties. He was involved, clearly, but somehow he always walks away untouched. That's what he's best at, pulling strings behind the scenes while pretending to be spotless in public. And now that a corner of the darkness has been ripped open, I'm not stopping. Everything my team and I are doing isn't about attacking anyone. It's about making sure the truth can't be buried by him ever again.
He ain't answering the phone?
He ain't answering the motherfucking phone.
Yeah, it's like this, like
We had a black billionaire's lunch.
Black excellence. They're sitting there like, yeah. It's a billionaire brunch. You're like,
I hate you, man.
And we here together, and we gonna keep staying together. We getting tighter.
unaware of anything going on here. This is the one time I'm gonna be with you this year. Yo, I feel like I'm normal again. Get me out of here.
Jay-Z is facing increasing pressure as reports surface suggesting that private exchanges between him and Diddy may have been exposed, sparking a strong reaction online. The situation has pulled Jay-Z into an uncomfortable spotlight, reviving long-standing speculation about his close association with Diddy and past connections that are now being viewed through a sharper lens. As these alleged messages circulate in public discussion, old claims are being revisited, perceptions are shifting, and momentum is building fast, creating a growing storm that threatens to challenge Jay-Z's reputation, influence, and long-established legacy.
Sean Carter aided and abetted or was directly involved. It's about to get real tense, and there's a lot of girls and boys who are still trapped inside.
In earlier interviews, 50 Cent was clear that he never embedded himself within Diddy's inner circle, explaining that certain invitations and environments immediately raised red flags and pushed him to step back early. That intentional distance, he says, is what allows him to speak openly now. When allegations later surfaced, 50 Cent maintained that he learned about them the same way everyone else did, through the media, and while he acknowledged how serious the reports were, he also made it clear they aligned with concerns he had recognized long ago, rather than coming as a shock.
Explained that Jay-Z is worse than Diddy. She explained how Jay-Z has done worse things than what Diddy did to Cassie to other females. And she said that she has the scars to prove it. She alleged that at one time Jay-Z attacked her and got it on film like Diddy did. And she alleged that this is why Jay-Z is totally pulling away from Diddy and you don't see him around. And it's been alleged for quite a while that Jay-Z is pulling away from Diddy because he doesn't want himself caught in the crossfire. I mean, you even have 50 Cent at this point talking about how Jay-Z is in hiding while this whole Diddy thing blows over. And you even have these accusations of Jay-Z being responsible for what happened to Cassie White. So I'm going to go ahead and roll you guys this clip of everything that Jag had to say about Jay-Z being worse than Diddy, and you guys let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
Sean Carter is just as bad as the diddler. And I know that for a fact. I got the scars to prove it. You want to know what a box cutter feels like going into your skin and ripping you? I can tell you how it feels. Y'all ain't seen shit yet. That Cassie shit, that's nothing. I'm saying Sean Carter remembers everything he did to me and he's got it on tape. Just like Diddy. And they're gonna be crazy. It's gonna be the women that give him in the end.
As the investigation expanded, attention gradually shifted toward Jay-Z, with critics questioning his silence as developments around Diddy continued to intensify. That restraint only fueled suspicion, leading some to believe his team sensed early signs of his name entering civil conversations and moved quickly to control perception. Others cautioned that even without formal charges, reputational damage was already taking shape. As social media accelerated the spread of unverified claims and amplified speculation, turning uncertainty into immediate, hard-hitting consequences that felt rapid and difficult to contain.
Exactly what Jay-Z's accuser is saying, that even though she dropped the lawsuit, she still stands by what she says, and she only dropped it because of harassment and the fact that she's terrified of Jay-Z. She says that Jay-Z is allegedly bullying her into saying that her accusations were false. In fact, in new legal documents, she is claiming that she was recently approached outside of her home and cornered by two people who told her they were investigators working for one of Jay-Z's lawyers. She claims they tried to get her to sign an affidavit stating that her claims against Jay-Z were false, but she refused. Jane Doe also claims the alleged investigators asked her if her attorney, Tony Busby, sought her out as a client and offered her money to pursue false claims against Jay-Z, two allegations she says she denied. He says this alleged confrontation left her intimidated and terrified, wondering how they found her when her identity had remained anonymous in media reports and legal proceedings. He also claims that her parents were approached by two investigators asking similar questions about Busby and her story. In the new documents, she reveals she decided to drop the claim because she was frightened by the reaction from Jay-Z and his supporters. He says she feared she would be publicly outed and subjected to
Industry insiders cautioned that a single criminal probe could destabilize far more than one individual, extending risk to anyone seen as part of Diddy's immediate orbit, which is why many believe 50 Cent's documentary carries real weight. Rather than focusing on one figure, it seeks to examine how power operated behind closed doors, who may have known what was happening, and how responsibility can ripple outward once serious scrutiny begins. Analysts have also questioned how Diddy remained protected for so long, with some pointing to strategic alliances and tight control over public narratives as rumors quietly circulated. Adding to the tension, later reports suggested he may be cooperating with authorities to strengthen his position, a development that, according to unverified claims, could involve sharing information about others in his circle, deepening unease and raising the stakes across the entire industry.
Will Diddy start snitching?
He better. But the only thing I'm interested in him talking about is everything he knows about Kathy Coriana White. See, I know you know what happened to Corey. Diddy, I know that. You and Jay-Z down in Vegas at Tao with Claudia. Why don't you just talk about Kathy? That might help. That might help a lot. Kathy Coriana White, Jay-Z's pregnant mistress, who died 24 hours after she announced that she was going public with their relationship and the baby, while he was married to Beyonce. Was it an aneurysm, Diddy? Or are you the one who paid the same coroner that you...
Now that the documentary has officially been released, one reality is impossible to ignore. This isn't a story looking backward, it's actively shaping what comes next. Each new revelation sharpens the focus on those who remain silent, and Jay-Z is being drawn closer to the center of that spotlight. The scrutiny carries weight because his history with Diddy spans decades, making claims of distance harder for critics to accept. That tension intensified when Gene Deal publicly challenged statements from Jay-Z's legal team that downplayed their closeness, arguing that the narrative didn't match what many insiders had long observed. As more voices come forward and timelines are dissected, the pressure continues to build, turning once quiet associations into unresolved questions that refuse to fade.
They was close enough that they wasn't playing basketball, they wasn't playing baseball, they wasn't playing football, and they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his ass, and then
make the statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z. Now, I don't know what kind of statement, and I can't say, I wish I could say half a homo, but I know I can't say it. But I don't know what kind of half a homo that is. And you trying to say that you're not close to somebody. You coming on stage, patting them on their ass, and then you making a broad statement to the public, can't nobody call me Sean but Sean Carter. And I heard Jay-Z said the same thing about them. But they were so close that they had matching white girls together. Because when they used to see each other, they used to say, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? He'd be like, yo, how your skinny white girl doing? So, I guess that's a certain type of closeness.
I ain't know anything about that, man. I ain't know about, Jay touching his, ass. I got to go see the video. I ain't hear about that.
Come on, man. Everybody's seen that. 50 even pointed it out. Excuse me. When they was in ATL on stage. Remember when 50 bum rushed the stage with them?
Yeah, I think I recall that.
When Puff came on stage, first thing he did was pat Jay-Z on that. But I forgot. That's your favorite rapper.
Hey, him and Pac is 1A, 1B. But what's your issue with Jay, man? I didn't know you had an issue with him.
I'm never a fan of somebody that...
From Gene's perspective, the comfort and familiarity between Jay-Z and Diddy spoke louder than any statement ever could. He pointed to a moment at an Atlanta show when Diddy brought Jay-Z on, where their effortless chemistry was impossible for fans to ignore. A clip that later resurfaced after 50 Cent highlighted it and kept it circulating online. When asked whether he held any personal resentment toward Jay-Z, Gene dismissed that idea entirely, saying it had nothing to do with loyalty or bias. Instead, he recalled a past clash that once carried real tension, only for Jay-Z to later brush it off, a pattern Gene described as common among people at the top. Figures who move through intense situations, spark friction, and then carry on unaffected, operating in a rarefied space far removed from everyday consequences.
These guys are, man, they'll cause situations and cause problems, and then they'll forget what they done because they on a whole nother atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? A lot of shit that he did, you got to understand, like now he'll say that they're kids because he's raising kids of his own. You understand? But how would you like it that if Blue Ivory, 15, 16 years old, 17, 18 years old, dating in his early 30s? You're not going to go for that. No matter what she came through in Hollywood. But you got to understand, guys who was around there, we didn't know Jay-Z them ages. We didn't know these cats' age. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't having no beards and nothing like that. They was wearing low cuts. You understand? Clean face. I would have never believed when Jay was coming around the block, scooping up the young girls and stuff like that he was 30 years old. If they 17, 18, 16 years old and they 22, you thinking they 22, 23, something like that, 24 years old? They mom and them need to check them. They daddy and them need to check them. But that's not that far off. But for somebody to be 30 years old in their 30s and they dealing with kids 16 years old, 17, 18 years, that's a problem. That's an issue. And now he see that because he's raising kids. And he got a young daughter. I think he got another daughter that he didn't claim and now he claiming them. These cats was doing a whole lot of stuff that people in the industry won't speak on. And then now that you're speaking on it and it's becoming where is that you can get on YouTube and you could talk about this shit and say what you seen or say what you heard, you understand, or what you know. Some people look at it being a problem. But these cats ain't street cats. They entertainers.
Dame Dash, once Jay-Z's closest collaborator, recently spoke on the serious allegations now surrounding him, saying what struck him most was not only the claims themselves but the sheer intensity of the public reaction. Dame pointed out that in all his years, he had never witnessed Jay-Z face this degree of scrutiny, noting that decades of power and influence had positioned him as largely untouchable, particularly within mainstream media. That perception, he suggested, is now beginning to change, with the protective shield slowly cracking and exposing Jay-Z to a level of public examination rarely directed at someone of his stature, signaling a shift in how even the most powerful figures are confronted when attention sharpens.
It's odd to see him in that, getting looked at in that way by white people, like Jay does, yeah, like I hope that shit didn't happen, but I'm like, damn, they turned the world real, like people on a certain level have been f***ing with him a certain way where he couldn't do no wrong for like 25 years straight. This is the first time he's not getting a pass with white media, like he can control black media because a lot of them either work or do business with him, but like, ring champs can't get him out of this one, and neither can Charlemagne, because those are the guys that hold him down no matter what he does anyway. So you got to get to People Magazine and Entertainment Tonight right now, because they on his head. But the question is why? Like, why now? Because for me, I'd be like, yo, that's so ridiculous. Yo, take that to trial. You're not going to win. Let's get a deposition or something. So I don't know why they on his head so much, pause. But I never seen him, under this, I never seen him in this position to have to explain himself. Pause.
How you feel about the statement he came out with?
I mean, I didn't hear him say anything. I heard a piece of, like I said, for me, I'm doing an interview, so I talk. I thought it was long. For a statement, I thought it was long, pause. But, I think right now, his silence is the worst thing for him. If he is innocent, he needs to let people ask him questions, and he needs to be able to say his side of the story.
What surprised Dame the most was seeing Jay-Z in a position he rarely acted, guarded, reactive, and under sustained pressure, something he has only faced in a few moments throughout his career. For decades, Jay-Z operated without needing to publicly explain himself, which makes the current intensity of scrutiny especially notable. At the same time, questions keep surfacing about why 50 Cent seems so committed to challenging him, suggesting the Diddy connection alone does not fully explain the tension. Tony Ayo added context, explaining that friction between 50 and Jay-Z has existed for years, rooted in rivalry and unresolved issues around loyalty. Hip-hop has always been driven by competition, where egos clash and conflicts naturally arise. But growth is also part of that evolution. Yayo pointed to a recent performance where 50 shared the stage with Dr. Dre, and Cameron also appeared, showing how past issues can be put aside. Cameron later commented that Jay-Z prioritizes business over culture, a point Yayo agreed with, noting that Jay-Z is frequently seen at high-level corporate events, while often absent from hip-hop moments that matter deeply to artists. Like 50, reinforcing perceptions of imbalance and keeping questions about priorities and allegiance very much alive.
Like I don't think I would have said that he didn't know Puff at all or wasn't his friend. I thought that was a little extreme. I thought that was the wrong choice of words. I think that's going to trigger a lot of backlash. But the thing is, I never seen him get backlash at all. So that's what I'm saying. Now he getting backlash. Like, when did you know Jay-Z to be on his heels other than when he got beat up in the elevator? But that was nothing. But I've never seen him under the fire ever. Not in a long time. Not like, I've never seen people on his head like that, Paul. Ever.
Yeah, this might be my first time seeing people come at him like this.
Like I said, I didn't hear him say anything. Like, I'm not some white man speaking for another black man doesn't add up. It just doesn't work like that. Like, he doesn't know what to say on Jay's behalf. Jay would have to say that. So if he instructed him to say that, like, you don't even know if Jay told him to say that. He could have got off the stage and they was like, why'd you say that? He was like, I had to. Like, he probably said it because homeboy wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? So who knows? Like, I didn't hear him say anything. I haven't heard Jay say a word yet. Have you?
Nah, I haven't heard him say anything.
There it is. So y'all going by a piece of paper with words, don't get caught up in that. I have not heard him say one thing yet. Until I see him speak, he hasn't spoke to me. That's why I said I don't think he did not say that. His lawyer said it. So what else is?
Yo highlighted what he sees as a defining difference in accessibility between Jay-Z and 50 Cent. He explained that while Jay-Z operates at the highest levels of power with deliberate distance, 50, despite being just as influential, remains visible, connected, and loyal to the people who were part of his rise. According to Yo, true stature comes from remembering those roots rather than separating from them. He recalled a moment that stayed with him from the Super Bowl halftime show, where Jay-Z reportedly pushed back against including 50 in the lineup, and said it ultimately took Eminem drawing a hard line, refusing to perform unless 50 was included, to shift the decision. To Yo, that situation went beyond strategy or public optics, carrying a personal weight that reflected long-standing tension and an unspoken rivalry threaded through their complicated history.
There was this one part where 50 was talking, and he was saying, yeah, when Yayo was locked up, every G-Unit show, we actually put aside the money.
Bro, I told
for him, and he had like a, he's like, Yayo had like $1 million.
Right. I just told you, when I came out of my building, I see the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
There was no way I was getting shot there. And this is what I kind of tell you is like, when we was talking about stacks with the Porsche, 50's not gonna let you say, get the Porsche. He gonna say, let's get him out the hood first. You know, if the money's there, but the money has to be there for you to live like that. The money's there. 50 didn't have to do that. Rest in peace to Hervé from Interscope, because he always said to me, man, 50 do more for you than any artist, than anybody does for their artists. More.
Over time, industry insiders suggested that the once strong relationship between Jay-Z and Diddy began to weaken, with fractures forming around trust and uncertainty over who would prioritize their own interests if things went bad. Some have gone further, claiming Jay-Z may have had a quiet hand behind the scenes in Diddy's downfall, an allegation publicly voiced by Jaguar Wright, but never proven. Whether true or not, the speculation underscores a tougher reality at the highest levels of power. Where alliances are often conditional, loyalty can be fragile, and influence shifts quickly, allowing long-standing partnerships to transform into calculated standoffs with little warning.
Get a camera on.
Yeah.
He made a statement recently. He said that Jay-Z loves money more than hip-hop. And he pointed out that Jay-Z performed at Tom Brady's Hall of Fame ceremony, but he didn't perform in any Hip-Hop 50 events.
I mean, Jay-Z's on a whole nother level. Like, I mean, you know, he's like, but you know what I like about 50? 50's on a whole nother level, but he's still approachable. You still get to meet the people and you know, Jay got to remember the people that made him. You know, I'm not saying I don't got respect. I respect Jay-Z, 50, used to respect, you know, Diddy, but all that crazy shit going on. But, you know, I always respected him because I looked at, for New York, those were like the guys, you know what I'm saying? The guys with the most money and the most influence. So with Jay is like, when the last time you haven't seen Jay, so I think people are just gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I mean, Jay, you know, you gotta remember, he didn't want 50 at the Super Bowl. That was crazy. I'm like,
wait, Jay didn't want 50 at the Super Bowl?
Know that? Yeah, he didn't want.
I remember Eminem pushed for it.
That was some hater shit. Yeah,
I remember Eminem was like, I'm not gonna do it unless 50 does it. I heard that.
Yeah,
but I didn't know that Jay was trying to stop it.
I don't think Jay. I don't know. 50 never told me that, but I don't think Jay wanted him there. I don't know.
Because of what? Some of the.
I mean, you know, it's competition. You got to think. 50 always been competition for Jay. Remember, I'm about $1. What the fuck is 50 Cent?
That was a long time ago.
That was what, 9? What was that? 9?
But after that, they did a song together. Remember the whole,
of course, but 50 was always competition for niggas. Then remember Jay said, yo, 50's coming. He told Siegel and them, and Memphis Bleak and all them.
Yeah.
And come on, 50's like, he's on a whole nother level. You gotta remember, he came after niggas. He came after Jay and Rockefeller. G-Unit came, and people might shit on G-Unit, but with Eminem, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, nobody has out.
Roger Bonds, Diddy's former head of security, offered an insider perspective that complicates the narrative, explaining that while he saw Jay-Z and Diddy interact, he never considered their relationship truly close. According to Bonds, Diddy seemed to believe the connection carried more weight than it actually did, revealing a gap between perception and reality. His account highlights how, at the highest levels of influence, surface-level familiarity can be mistaken for loyalty, and carefully maintained appearances often hide far more distance than the public realizes. Other insiders from Diddy's camp have similarly noted a clear imbalance in the relationship, observing that Diddy consistently showed up in support of Jay-Z in ways rarely reciprocated. Behind closed doors, this pattern revealed a lopsided loyalty where effort flowed strongly in one direction, while return effort remained limited. The observation underscores how alliances at the top can appear solid publicly while privately exposing a dynamic where commitment is assumed but not equally shared.
He says to people, he goes into boardrooms and says to people, which I will never say, is he says, it's important for me to be a billionaire, because Black people need to be billionaires. And why does specifically he, at that time, I've had this conversation with white money people when they go, it's important that Jay-Z becomes a billionaire. And I go, why? And they said, because he wants to open up a casino. He wants to open up this. He should have an alcoholic brand. He needs to have a casino. He needs to have this. And you're like, why the fuck does anybody need a casino? Like another fucking casino
money
in this world.
And it makes it very possible for people to launder money all day.
Yeah. So like, why, even the fact that you want to become so powerful, then you're not saying because he needs to build schools for Black people in Black neighborhoods. It's because he wanted to build casinos for Black people.
For them to keep wasting their money and then for him to keep getting them overpriced merchandise. It's a rat trap.
Yeah.
All of it is. The sad part is that hip hop has now turned itself over to this greed machine and doesn't realize.
He says to people. He goes into boardrooms and says to people, which I will never say, is he says it's important for me to be a billionaire. Because Black people need to be billionaires. And why does specifically he at that time had this conversation with white money people when they go, it's important that Jay-Z becomes a billionaire. And I go, why? And they said because he wants to open up a casino. He wants to open up this, he should have an alcoholic brand and he needs to have a casino. He needs to have this. And you're like, why does anybody need a casino? Like another casino. And it makes it very possible for people to launder money all day. Yeah, so like why? Even the fact that you want to become so powerful, then you're not saying because he needs to build schools for Black people in Black neighborhoods. It's because he wanted to build casinos for Black people, for them to keep wasting their money, and then for him to keep buying them overpriced merchandise. It's a rat trap. Yes. All of it is. The sad part is that hip-hop has now turned itself over to this greed machine and doesn't realize it's from his viewpoint. Jay-Z and Diddy were never bound by the deep loyalty the public imagined. They simply operated in the same elite circles, sharing success, access, and influence without a truly solid foundation. As time passed, the absence of genuine allegiance became harder to ignore, and the distance beneath the surface grew more apparent. Now, with events playing out in full view, those long-hidden fractures are impossible to dismiss, raising the question of whether the widening divide will continue to intensify and ultimately impact them both. Let us know what you think in the comments.